If you love wisdom, put your mind up to the ceiling. Don't let it stay in the gutter. Don't let your heart get all cluttered. No, I did not stutter. Listen to all that I've muttered. Your life will only go well if you win wisdom or lovers.
If you're in love with wisdom, come inside.
Come inside. Come inside.
The truth will surely rescue you and I.
You and I. You and I.
If you're in love with wisdom, come inside.
Come inside. Come inside.
The truth will surely rescue you and I.
Alright, what's going on? This is JC Johnson, and you are listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets. And of course, we're on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. Alright, this week we have some new content for you. We are discussing the wisdom of continuity. Alright, so if you're familiar with that, maybe in sports or within filmmaking, you might have an idea, but if this word is new to you, that's cool. We'll be explaining more about that right after this.
If you're in love with wisdom, come inside.
Come inside.
Hey, what's going on, Wisdom family? Each week on For the Love of Wisdom, we promote a new and free audiobook that we believe you will benefit from and become wiser by listening to. On today's show, we're talking about the wisdom of continuity. And so, the recommended book for this week is Don't Give Up, 10 Inspirational Thoughts and 10 Motivational Stories by Noot. This book is all about staying encouraged so that you don't give up so easily by staying consistent. That's how you can succeed. To download this free book today, just visit audibletrial.com/lovewisdom. audibletrial.com/lovewisdom.
All right, what's going on? And welcome back. You are listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with who? It starts with you, right? So the theme of the show is taken from Psalm 90, verse 12. Teach us to number our days carefully so that we may develop wisdom in our hearts. And that's from the Christian Standard Bible. I really like that verse. I think it really summarizes what we talk about here. All right, so just looking at the title for the show, For the Love of Wisdom, it comes from the word philosophy, 2 words, philo, meaning love. Second word, Sophia or Sophos, means wisdom. So that's a Greek word right there where we get the English word philosophy from. And it's one of my favorite words, one of my favorite word studies. It really just says a lot right there. It's all about loving wisdom. And that's why this show is called For the Love of Wisdom. Because if we love wisdom, you know what's going to happen. We're going to make good decisions. That means that we're going to be wise in our dealings with people. We're going to be wise in how we interpret information and situations. So it's really important. And what is wisdom exactly? Wisdom is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. All right. So judgment is like having good sense. Right? It doesn't mean like judging people or pointing your finger at them. It means being able to properly understand a person, or properly even understand the motives of another person, which can definitely be difficult. So we shouldn't assume that we always know the motives of other people, but at least having wisdom, it makes it a little bit easier to be able to decipher things like that and not jump to conclusions. And oftentimes, wisdom does come through experience. At least it is supposed to, but wisdom doesn't have to come through experience, right? You don't have to chop your finger off to know that chopping your finger off would hurt. You can just take a pretty good guess that that's not a good idea, right? So maybe you've seen someone else do it, or you just know intuitively that that's a bad idea, right? Either way, we know that we can get wisdom in several different ways. All right, so last week we were discussing the wisdom of humility, and that was a pretty cool segment. I think that that's something that you would definitely appreciate, and you can always listen back on old episodes, and I'll explain more to you about that in a little bit, because I know sometimes you're not able to listen live, but we are live every Thursday, 4 p.m. North Coast Underground, broadcasting live from the Valley View location of the Ohio Media School. And in our discussion of humility last week, we talked about what humility is and what humility isn't. And I think it's really important to distinguish the difference between humility and false humility, right? Because false humility can look like humility, but it has different motives. And that's what differentiates the two: the motives, the heart behind it, the reasoning, right? So if you're doing something just so that you can come across as humble, but you're really not, that's false humility, you know? Or somebody gives you a compliment and you say, "Oh no, I can't accept that. There's nothing good about me." You know, that's not being humble. That's really a false humility. There's nothing wrong with taking the compliment and just saying, "Hey, thank you. I appreciate that," right? I mean, why not? We should be able to do that. And for some people, their problem is the exact opposite. Not only will they accept the compliment, they expect everyone around them to praise them, right? Because they think that they're all that, right? And we don't want to be on that extreme either. That's when we're getting into the opposite of humility. We're getting more into pride there. False humility is also another form of pride too, but that's a whole nother thing. It was a great episode. We talked a lot about that. We talked about how we can really just keep ourselves in the right perspective when it comes to how we interpret ourselves and other people as well, right? So it's about not thinking of yourself more highly than you ought, and not thinking of yourself more lowly than you ought too. But the word humility, the root word humilis, the Latin word, it actually means low, right? So it has to do with basically acknowledging that you are low, not low like a low life, but low in the sense of you are not the number one human being on earth, right? It's the ability to be able to say, you know, I don't have it all together. I'm not all that. I'm not the best person there is. But at the same time, I am a person who matters. I do have value. I am important. It's just that I am not the most important. All right, so that's really all that is about. So again, if you missed that, don't worry about it. You can always listen back on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeart, any popular podcasting platform. You should be able to find For the Love of Wisdom. Just type in For the Love of Wisdom. If you're doing a Google search, just type in For the Love of Wisdom, JC Johnson, and that should come up for you pretty easily. All right, so with that out of the way, we are getting ready to get into our topic for today, which is the wisdom of continuity. Now, continuity. What is continuity all about anyway? Well, let's take a look at a verse from the Bible that I think applies. I think this applies to what we're going to be talking about here. In Galatians chapter 6, verses 9 and 10, it says, "Let us not become tired of doing good. At the right time, we will gather a crop if we don't give up. So when we can do good to everyone, let us do it." All right. So what is this talking about? Continuity in this case is talking about being consistent. It's talking about doing the same thing over and over again. And in this context, the same thing is doing good to other people, right? And it says that if we do that at the right time, we will gather a crop, meaning it's using some agricultural imagery here. If you plant a seed, right, it doesn't grow up, it doesn't grow that day or the next day. It takes time. But the principle of harvest, sowing and reaping, is that whenever you plant something, assuming that you plant it correctly, right, that you're making sure it gets plenty of water and sunlight or whatever that particular plant might need, then eventually it's going to grow. It's going to produce fruit or vegetation, whatever it is that you are hoping that it would produce. If you're trying to grow tomatoes, plant those seeds, those tomatoes should grow eventually. You know, you want to plant watermelon, you want to plant corn stalks, whatever it is, eventually that will grow and it will produce the result that you're looking after. And when it comes to your life, when it comes to things that you want in this life, or even character, things like that, internal things within you, you may not have it right now, but you can plant the seeds today that will allow you to have it maybe 6 months from now, maybe 3 months from now, maybe next year, maybe in the next 10 years. Whenever it is, it doesn't really matter when. The important thing is that there's growth. And typically you can see growth. You're not going to see it if you're just standing there staring at it all day, though, because if you just look at a tomato plant and you wait for that to come out of the ground, you're going to be waiting a long time. And I can guarantee you're going to fall asleep before that tomato plant comes out of the ground, right? But eventually, you take a look at it after you plant it, you walk away, maybe you come back in 3 weeks, look at the progress. He's like, okay, it's making some progress. Come back in another month, you're going to see even more progress. And before you know it, you're going to have those tomato plants that you planted, and they're going to be right there for you, ready to eat. I recommend washing them all first, but hey, if you just can't help yourself and you got to just jump in there, then hey, why not? That's your decision. That's on you. But either way, there are certain laws that we do have to abide by in this world, whether we want to or not. And one of those is the principle of sowing and reaping. And this says right here that if we don't give up, we will reap the harvest. But more on that after this song. You're listening to North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you.
This is your girl, Juicy Jazzo, and I wanted to let you know I'm all about wisdom. Knowledge is power, power is money, and money makes the world go round. And you're listening to For the Love of Wisdom right now, bleeding out your speakers.
All right, welcome back. You are listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets, and we are on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. All right, so before the break, we were talking about a little bit about what we discussed last week, which was the wisdom of humility, and then we got into the topic for this week, the wisdom of continuity. All right, and as you notice, each of the show titles have the suffix of ity. I think that's just the theme for right now. I don't know, who knows? Maybe for the first 50 episodes or so, we'll do that, and then after that, maybe we'll switch it up to something else. If you got a suggestion of the next either prefix or suffix that we should use for the upcoming show titles, you can definitely hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @LoveWisePodcast, that is. And in your response, you can use the hashtag For the Love of Wisdom or hashtag North Coast Underground. Let's continue our discussion on the wisdom of continuity. All right, so we started by looking at Galatians chapter 6, verses 9 and 10, and we looked at how it says not to get tired of doing good, but to keep going, and eventually you will reap a harvest. We talked about the law of the harvest, the principle of sowing and reaping, how if we put the seeds into the ground, eventually it is going to produce the fruit that we want it to. It is going to yield that crop. And relating that to our everyday lives, there are things that we want to do. There's things that we want to accomplish. Maybe there's some growth within ourselves that we would like to see happen, but it doesn't happen overnight. Things take time, right? So we have to stay consistent. We have to keep doing the same thing, and eventually we are going to get that thing that we are seeking. But just so that we can have a better understanding, let's look at the word continuity. Let's break it down and see what this even means. Where do we get this word from? Now, one thing off the top, I'm sure that you'll notice, is that it sounds a lot like the word continuous or continue. And it is, because it all has the same root. So let's take a look at Merriam-Webster dictionary. Merriam-Webster defines continuity as uninterrupted connection, succession, or union. All right, so when you say that this connection is uninterrupted, then that means that whatever is there is going to continue to flow. Like if you were to plug an Ethernet cable into your computer and you were able to get internet without any interruptions, without any hindrances, that's an uninterrupted connection. However, if there was a power outage or somebody tripped over the cable that was plugged into your computer and it broke, or somebody spilled some coffee on it or anything, then that connection would be interrupted, and that would not be continuity. That would be the opposite. That would be something that ceases, as opposed to something that has a succession or union. It would be disunity. It would be disconnected. It would be unsucceeded, right? Another definition here from Merriam-Webster says uninterrupted duration or continuation, especially without essential change. So, what does this mean? Again, just like the connection, this time there's a duration that is uninterrupted, meaning that the amount of time is uninterrupted, or continuation, especially without essential change. So if something has something that is continuously going on, then that means it's something that most likely lasts forever, or at least lasts for a really long time. And it says without essential change. So meaning that it pretty much does what it does. And even if there are some slight changes, they're too minuscule to make much of a difference. It doesn't change the meaning or overall purpose, right? So here's another one from Merriam-Webster. Uninterrupted extension in space, time, or sequences. So again, that's more of the same as, you know, as it relates to the concept of time. And then looking just a little bit deeper into it, if we go to the online etymology dictionary, we look and we see that in the early 15th century, the meaning of this word continue, or continuity, continuous, it's uninterrupted connection of parts in space or time. And from the old French word and the old Latin words, we get the understanding that it is a connected series. A connected series. It's almost like if you're watching a TV show, right? And one episode flows into the other. That is a connected series, as opposed to something that's more of a variety show, maybe, where each episode is its own standalone episode and you don't have to watch any of the other episodes to know what's going on, right? That would not be an example of continuity in that case. Although one could argue that the continuity is the fact that they do it the same way every time by making the episodes not flow into each other. So I guess it depends on how you look at it. But just from how I'm seeing it here, when it comes to a television series, we know that there's continuity for sure when episode 3 is a continuation of episode 2 and episode 4 is the continuation of episode 3, and so on and so on. All right, now another word that it says here, and this is pretty interesting, again from the Latin roots. We have to be uninterrupted, but then also literally the literal definition is to hang together. To hang together. That's continuity. So as opposed to hanging separately, right? They're hanging together. So if you have two eyeballs, that's continuity, right? It's not like you have an eyeball and then next to your eyeball, then you have a mouth. No, you have two of the same thing. That's continuity. You have two ears. Continuity. You have two nostrils. Usually, I mean, some people don't, but for the most part, we have two of each of those things. But we only have one mouth, right? So, as the old saying goes, it's probably more important to listen than to speak. It's probably more important to watch than to talk about what you saw. But that's something else. When we come back, we're gonna look a little bit more into continuity as it relates to filmmaking. Filmmaking is definitely an art form that utilizes continuity a lot. Really, that's what tells the story. More so just than, what the actors are saying or what is being shot. It's the way that things are shot, the way that things are put together. So cinematography, this is something that relies heavily upon the concept of continuity, unless it's some sort of abstract visual experience that the director or cinematographer wants you to get from it. But more on that when we come back. You are listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets. And of course, we're listening on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. This is your host, JC Johnson, and I'm so glad that you can hang out with me this afternoon. I'll be here from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. right here on North Coast Underground.
What's up? It's your girl Queen Z from the Queen Z Show, and you are listening to For the Love of Wisdom.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. On today's show, we are discussing the wisdom of continuity, right? And before the break, I mentioned that we would talk about continuity as it relates to filmmaking. Now, here is some information from David Bordwell and Kristen Thompson. They wrote a book called Film Art, an Introduction, and that was published by McGraw-Hill. And they talk about some of the techniques that filmmakers use in order to paint a picture with a video camera and with editing software. So let's take a look at what they have to say about continuity as it relates to filmmaking. They talk about continuity editing, and they say that continuity editing is the process in film and video creation of combining more or less related shots or different components cut from a single shot into a sequence so as to direct the viewer's attention to a pre-existing consistency of story across both time and physical location. Now that's a long definition, so let's break it down piece by piece. All right, continuity editing is the process in film and video creation. Okay, so first of all, they're talking about creating something, and when you're creating something, it means that you're basically taking something from nothing and you're turning it into something. Just like how God created the world, he took nothing and he turned it into something. He spoke it into existence. And what a film director is trying to do is he's trying to take his vision, which only exists in his head. It's not something that anyone else can see, and he's trying to take that and he's trying to bring that to life so that other people can experience what he's been privileged to be able to experience already inside of his mind. And so when they're creating this thing, they do this by combining more or less related shots. So whether these shots were meant to go together or they just want to make it look like they were supposed to go together, the art of video creation, showing continuity, is being able to link related or unrelated scenes together. And it says that there are different components here, and they're cut from a single shot into a sequence so as to direct the viewer's attention to a pre-existing consistency. Now, going back a little bit, if we're looking at all these different shots, right, and you're trying to tell a story, let's say you only have 1 minute to tell a story and you have 15 different shots that you're trying to put together. Maybe the order in which you put the shots together will completely change the storyline, or at least the person's interpretation of that storyline. For example, if the first shot that comes on the screen is the end, well, somebody might turn it off because they think that it's over, right? But that's not proper. If you have more to say, you probably want to save that for the actual end, right? Or let's say you have some scenes where you have 3 different angles of somebody dropping a glass of milk. All right, so if the first scene should be the glass of milk leaving the person's hand, maybe the second shot is the glass of milk traveling in the air, going downward, and maybe the third shot would be the glass of milk splashing onto the ground, glass breaking and flying everywhere. That is continuity right there. It makes sense. The 3 shots go together. But if you just saw some, milk splatter against the ground, and then the next scene or the next shot, you see somebody drinking some milk as if nothing ever happened, it doesn't make sense. That's not proper continuity, right? So it's just a filmmaking technique. It's something that is used by everyone who is serious about filmmaking because they want to get a certain reaction from the audience. They want the audience to have a particular experience when they're watching the film or the TV show or whatever. Think about a cartoon. A cartoon heavily relies upon continuity, especially cartoons back in the day. If you remember, cartoons before all the technology, they had to literally draw different pictures and put it sort of like in a flip book, and they had to just go through it, and each little movement had to be detailed, because if they missed anything, it would throw off the continuity, right? So if they're showing somebody running, and then in one picture somebody's leg might need to be at 20 degrees, maybe in the next picture their leg needs to be at 19 degrees, and then the next one 18, and then 17, then 16, and so on and so forth, right? So that is continuity as it relates to a cartoon artist. They had to make sure that all that stuff is done in order, and that was very tedious. I don't know how they did that. That is a labor of love right there. That has to be something that you're really into. And I can relate. I can understand. I know when it comes to music, that's something I'm into. I'm into the specifics, whether that is in playing a song or that's in editing audio or whatever, because that's just something that I'm into. But somebody who doesn't like that can be a pain for them. That can drive them insane, right? But that's why we all have different passions, different things that we're good at, different things we enjoy. But that is continuity, basically. We looked at the word continuity, where it comes from, how basically it is something that is uninterrupted. It's an uninterrupted connection. Just as I mentioned with the Ethernet cable connected to your computer, as long as there are no hindrances such as power outages or somebody spilling coffee on the cable or somebody tripping over it, as long as there's something that's not happening to hinder that connectivity will continue. That is continuity. All right, and that is, I think, enough to give you a pretty good understanding of what continuity is all about. What we're gonna do next, we're gonna look at what the NFL can teach us about continuity. Yes, the NFL. I have 3 major headlines that teach us a lot from the NFL as it relates to continuity, and these are things that not only relate to them in the NFL, but can relate to our everyday lives as well. So that's awesome. You definitely don't want to miss that segment. That's going to be coming up after the break. Before we get into that, though, we do have a book of the week. If you heard earlier, I mentioned that the book of the week this week is called Don't Give Up. Awesome book. It's an awesome book that's available on Audible. You can check that out for free. Download, actually. As long as you access that through the show For the Love of Wisdom, you would just go to www.audibletrial.com/lovewisdom, and once you type that in, it'll direct you to a page where you can sign up for a free 30-day trial of Audible, and during that time you can download a free book. And I would definitely recommend this book, Don't Give Up. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's really encouraging. Straight to the point. And it's not very long, actually. I believe this book is only an hour. Like an hour and some change. So if you're just looking for something to listen to while you're in traffic or something one day, this is one I would definitely recommend. Alright, so we will be back shortly after this. You are listening to North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. And this is JC Johnson, host of For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets. And why is that? Well, because we're taking a term that is typically associated with a different context, maybe with a university setting or in some sort of conference or something with all these deep thinkers. But this is actually something that can relate to our everyday lives. This is something that you don't have to be a philosopher to get into, because at the end of the day, if you want to make good decisions in life, you are a philosopher, because we're all about loving wisdom, right? But more on that after this.
It's your boy, Tear It Up, Tommy Tom from Beyond Sports, and you're listening to For the Love of Wisdom
with your host, Jason Johnson.
All right, welcome back to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets. And you know, we're listening on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. Broadcasting live from Valley View, Ohio, this lovely Thursday afternoon. The weather's been awesome. But you know, the summer, just like every year, it's going to eventually have to come to an end. We're going to have to get ready for the fall. But you know, fall is not too bad. You get to wear some different type of clothes. Unless you're like me and you kind of wear the same stuff year round. Hey, I just try to keep it simple, you know. But anyway, this week we are talking about the wisdom of continuity. And before the break, I had said that we would actually look to the NFL to give us some understanding of continuity. And you may say, well, what can we learn about continuity from the National Football League? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm about to tell you. We can learn that from 3 different teams. All right, we can learn that from the Los Angeles Rams. We can also learn that from a couple players, actually, on the Vikings team, Stephon Diggs and Kirk Cousins. And we can learn about continuity from the Redskins, which are the team from my hometown originally, from Washington, D.C. I found my way up here to Cleveland a couple years ago. But, you know, hey, I still consider them a home team. I'm sorry for all you Browns fans out there. You know, I'm not trying to make you upset, but hey, I think that what the Redskins and the Browns have in common is that we have not seen them in any Super Bowl anytime recently. I do remember a time, though, when I was growing up, that when the Redskins, they had a pretty good run. But anyway, let's get started with the first one. The Los Angeles Rams. Here's the headline. Rams Gurley. Offense tried, and Gurley, not like a girl, but that's the name of the person here. Gurley. Rams is Gurley. Offense tried to benefit from growing continuity. All right, and that was actually just published yesterday on Fox Sports. And here's what they have to say. Continuity paid off for the Los Angeles Rams offense last season, staying with the same offensive line combination that played together in all but one game. It certainly did for running back Todd Gurley, who signed a 4-year, $60 million contract extension in July after running for 1,305 yards and scoring 19 total touchdowns last season behind that familiar front 5. This is really important, and this really helps to explain what we're talking about today. When we talk about continuity, this is perfect because look, it says that the reason why this team was able to do so well is because for the most part, they had the same 5 players throughout that season, except for in one game, these same 5 players played together. And you should know if you play sports or you follow sports, if you play with the same people consistently, then over time there is no way that strength is not going to be built. It's impossible for these players to play together all the time without coming up with different strategies that work for them, figuring out what their teammates are like. If they know, okay, I already know that if I throw the ball at this particular angle, I know that this particular wide receiver is going to catch it, but I knew from the last 15 games that when I threw it a little bit more this way, the sun got in his eyes or whatever, right? So you start to learn little things about each other, right? You start to learn what your teammates' strengths are, what your teammates' weaknesses are. And if you're all on the same team and you're looking to win games, then you look at how you can really push their strengths and not their weaknesses. And you try to help each other to compensate for one another's weaknesses. That's the best way to win games in any sport, but especially in the NFL. So we can learn a lot from the Los Angeles Rams as far as that goes. They saw the importance of keeping that consistent 5 starters in each game. And it says the Rams expect even greater stability on offense to translate into continued success in head coach Sean McVay's second season, a belief that has been reinforced during the start of training camp. All right, so as you know, that season is coming up, football season again. Not sure who's gonna win it this year, but it looks like the Rams, they have a pretty good strategy here. So who knows? We may see them in the next Super Bowl. Here's what Goff has to say about this. He said, "We feel like we're in a good spot. Offensively, we've been starting to click. I think today was the first day you really felt that consistency starting to gel. We're not so much installing anymore. We're running the same plays over and over again and starting to get a good feel with it." And what he said is important. He said they're running the same plays over and over again. That is consistency. That is continuity, right? They're not trying to do something different every time because they're really trying to perfect their skills. They're trying to do something that works. And as the old saying goes, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? So they found something that works for them. They found a strategy that allows them to be successful when it comes to playing in games. And they figure that if they just keep doing that same thing over and over again, they're going to get even better at it, right? So it's just like if you play the guitar for 2 hours every day, then eventually you're going to get really good, right? But if you only do it like once a year, 30 years can go by and you'll probably still be at the same skill level, right? But when you're consistent, you're doing the same thing every day, then you're guaranteed to get good results. And that's what the Los Angeles Rams looks like. That's what they're doing here. Staying consistent, all about continuity. But more on that after this. In hour 2, we're going to pick back up by looking at a couple other sports teams and how they relate to continuity. You're listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets.
Knowledge is power, power is money, and money makes the world go round.
Money, power, respect, I get it. Higher, learning, yeah, I'm with it. Only get better with time, keep got on my mind with wisdom. There's no limit, there's no limit. Get up and get it, can achieve the impossible, conquer every obstacle. Exhausted from grinding, constantly pushing, do what they say I could. Life is what you make it. Knowledge is power, don't let them take it. If you're in love